This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There's a time for public participation during the regular meeting. Ms. Petter?
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler?
Here.
Mrs. Wider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Here.
Mrs. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Card, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Superintendent. We want to make a revision to the agenda.
Yes. I'd like to make a revision to the agenda to include an executive session. Let me go back to read the statements. To discuss under section 121.22G1,
No, we're going
to consider the employment and compensation of a public employee of the Ohio Revised Code. I'd like to move it to letter, you want to do it after inspirational or before?
After.
After, yeah.
To now, letter F.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Petter?
Mrs. Kessler?
Yes.
Mrs. Wider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes. Motion passes. Next is an inspirational message from Stewart Elementary School.
And
What
we have-
makes Stewart so special?
And we have our wonderful principal here, Mr. Ramsey. We'll get us started. Yes, sir.
All right, good evening. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to kind of highlight Stewart. It is really a special place. First, before I forget, because I think I did the last time, so our art teacher, Brenda Babel, came in this morning to display some of our artwork. Anytime there's a chance that she gets to display the students' work, she makes sure she comes in and does that. So I really appreciate her doing that. This project here was fun. Usually we bring groups in, but we changed it up this year. We have a video, and the students were fantastic. The fun part of it was you never knew what you were going to get. Like, I kind of figured, okay, this one's going to say this or she's going to say that, and it was the opposite. So our goal actually is we're going to do more of this because we learned a lot. And it was fun. The kids loved it because they were like, when's this going to be on? And they were like thinking Netflix and, on TV. And so they had fun doing it. They felt special. So we're going to continue doing this. And we do appreciate you letting us come here and showcasing our great students at Stewart.
Perfect. Thank you.
What I like about Stewart is that there's amazing teachers, and especially Miss Wilson because she lets us use action marks and math, and it's fun. My name is Kevin. I love Miss Wilson and I play with my friends side to side. We are the best playing in the schools. I love Stewart because I love some teachers that are so nice. I love Miss Wright because she's so nice and she was my teacher, my best teacher. Hi, I'm Rachel Stewart, and what I like most about this school is that I love the library, my teachers, and all my friends, and especially the principal. He's really nice. Come back in there. I like Today is Friday, February 7th, 2025. Hoy es viernes 7 de febrero 2025. Сегодня пятница, 7 февраля 2025. Say the pledge with your class and make it a great day. Día nuevamente en su clase y haga un gran día. Praise the season of the office of Jesus' name. Awesome. I love store elementary because we do activity like Coach Lava, Field Day, and the kids here are very amazing and very kind. This is why I love store elementary. My name is Raina, and I love store elementary because I can play Dojo Island and go outside and go on the swing and play with his friends. And I also love the teaching. I love when I student here and be with my friends and the teacher that I really like. Hello, I'm Mrs. Stewart. And what I like about this school is it's cool, it's clean, and it has decorations and stuff all over the school. And there's no drama, and there's a lot of books in the libraries that I like, and the school's wonderful.
Well, thank you for that. I know, I was a little tired, and that brightened me up a little bit, so that's always a good thing. This morning I went somewhere, saw kids, and it brightened me up, and now tonight I get it, so thank you for that.
Yep, you're welcome, and again, thanks for letting me share this video with you guys. Appreciate it.
Great job.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, now, I believe that the proper thing to do would be to go into executive session. Do I have a motion again?
I move that we go into executive session.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Petter?
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler?
Yes.
Mrs. Whiter?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Motion passes. We will return. That's not MacArthur, that's just the school board this time. From executive session, we are now on item number 3, which is the consent agenda. Need a motion for the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Ms. Petter?
Mrs. Whiter?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore? Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler?
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 4, district business. Approval of the January 2025 financial report.
I move to approve the January 2025 financial report as presented.
Second.
I guess this is Mrs. Petter to explain.
Just as you look through there, there's nothing big and surprising. We did get our first draw from the Hamilton County for our taxes. It was nice and healthy. Those will continue. They are on a different cycle this year, so about every 2 weeks we get a draw. So we'll see that money coming in probably a little more steady and even, which is an improvement. We're happy about that change for Hamilton County.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? In that case, Mrs. Better?
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Simons.
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder,
Yes.
Motion passes. B, approval of business associate agreement with Talbot House.
I move to approve the business associate agreement with Talbot House.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded.
As
Mr.
you know,
Carter?
Talbot House, we work with our mental health supports and substance abuse with some of our kids if needed. When they come to the table, to speed up and streamline the communication, they'll be using Viking Mail to Viking Mail. It was going where they were using the Talbot House email and was encrypted, and they were having trouble losing some communication. They've always had it, they just hadn't been using it, it's just this allows them to use it, that's all it is.
Any questions? If not, Mrs. Better?
Mrs. Moore, Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wyder,
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland,
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 5, discussion, academic update.
We have our CIA team coming up.
Is this open? Good evening, how are you? Good to see you. I love Stewart Elementary too, that was a great video, so it's great to see our students sharing, using their languages and feeling comfortable. So I am going to share in your packet elementary benchmark data for our tested grades on this sheet. So if you turn to, you want to go to next, we have the clicker? Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. So when you look at this data, so every year we assess our students 3 times a year, in the fall, the winter, and the spring, using iReady and reading and math. So if you look at 3rd grade, when our students come in the fall, when you're looking at the percentage, 32% of our students were at or above grade level when they were assessed in the fall. And then we went in and we did interventions, we worked with our students, I'll talk more about that later. And then when we just did the winter benchmark in December, 52% of our students were at or above grade level, which is great. So you can see a 20% gain. So if you look at our math in 3rd grade, you know, we do have some work to do in math when the students started. We are showing gains as well. And as you go down, you can see 4th grade reading, 5th grade reading, and then you can see the gains that we've made from fall to winter. And 5th grade math as well. I also wanted to share the data for our kindergarten students, our 1st grade students, and our 2nd grade students. So if we look again at our kindergarten students, when they came in, they were at 18% at or above grade level, and now they are at 55%, which is a 37% gain in what they're doing and learning in the classroom. Interventions are looking like they're working, obviously, so we're really excited about the data and the growth, you know, for the students to be at or above grade level. Kindergarten math, you can see they started coming in, you know, pretty low at 10% at or grade level, and there's now at 37%. So I won't read all of that, but if you wanted to take a minute to look through that, basically we're excited about the way our students are coming in and the way that we're helping them, you know, work toward being on grade level with their achievement. Now I'll talk a little bit about our elementary action steps. Basically, we're very excited for all of our staff to be able to use the MTSS multi-tier systems of support, which are the evidence-based research, research-based resources that we use in grades K through 5. So we have a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So we're excited about that in terms of everyone having access to the same curriculum resources. We focus on our MTSS weekly grade level team meetings, which we're really proud of in our district meetings after the fall, winter, and spring benchmark. I would like to thank Kelly, Ron, and Tanya for coming to our meetings at the buildings and at the district level, because that really helps us talk about things and problem solve from the building level to the district level so that we get answers for our students and to, you know, help them be their best selves. Interventions, so we're basically, again, using that same multi-tier system of supports, and we're ensuring that they're aligned with our core curriculum so that our gaps are closed. And then also looking at the formal and informal walkthroughs and instructional rounds. That's really helping us to get into the classrooms. Coaches, principals, and some of the BLT members are looking at how the interventions and how the implementation is going so that we can see how our students are learning. And then we're also progress monitoring. This is a really important one, allocating appropriate resources to students who need support, and having Kelly and Ron at the table and some of our psychologists to really help us at these meetings to see, is there mental health that's needed to help our students? Is that impeding them from academic achievement? Do they need behavior supports? So that's a really important one that we need our team together to make sure our kids can access the curriculum. Again, we're looking at completion on track for already, looking at those reports in weekly reading and math. And then there's discussion. So it's a lot to say, okay, it's not enough just to say, here's all our data. We're having those deep dives and having discussions about what does the data mean? What do we need to do to adjust to make our students, meet their goals? Do we need to enrich? Do we need to remediate? So it's not just about looking at the data, it's about having really meaningful discussions about what our next steps are. And then our 3rd through 5th grade students, they do practice on for the OST state testing and looking at that as well. That data helps us have actionable steps right away before the OST, so that it's not just, okay, they're just gonna take it, but we can look at benchmark, we can look at checkpoints, and everyone's expected to have that. So once they actually can see what the test is asking, how the format is, it really helps them do better. But we're also analyzing, how we can teach them the strands that they need to learn before the assessment. And it's actionable data. And then the other one is really great with creating student goals so that they're taking ownership of what they're learning and their progress, and celebrating, with the iReady or with Leader in Me and all the things that they're doing to help boost their motivation and confidence. So do you have any questions? Yes.
When I'm looking at the benchmark data for each of the grade levels, one thing that I was wondering, going into the fall, obviously there's some summer slide. What are we doing to help that so that the fall numbers coming in might be higher? Are we doing anything?
Right, so we do have state benchmark dates that we have to give our assessments by by the end of September. So when they come in August, the nice thing that we're doing is we have worked with iReady so that they can continue on the path that they started before they left. So there's a continuum of learning. So when they come back, they don't have to start over on their iReady path. They're able to pick up where they left off. So it's not just the iReady, but it's also the instruction that they're doing. One thing we also did is we started intervention groups 2 weeks into the school year using the data from the spring, so that we're hitting the ground running to make sure that those students are getting what they need. So everyone is looking at the data before we leave in June, and then those intervention groups are up and running like 2 weeks into school, so they're getting that intervention where they left off. And if we have new students, we assess them and help them as well.
So is there, and I'm assuming this, but is there recommendations for students through the summer to kind of help keep their skill sets where they
Right.
were, where they left in the spring? Or in
Right,
the summer, spring?
so the teachers send home how they can log into their iReady path in the summer, and they send home, things that they can do. There's libraries, different things that they can go and do some activities. So teachers do send home some packets and some things for them to do. It's not mandatory.
Exactly.
But there's suggestions for them to continue their learning in the summer.
Do we track how many students are actually taking advantage of that? I'm just trying to figure out what are we doing in the summer, because that's such a big lull of time that is still teachable time frame.
Absolutely. I don't know any ways that we're tracking because it's not mandatory.
Okay.
The only thing that we can track electronically is how they do on their personalized learning path, and if they were able to log on, at home and in the summertime. So we can look at that data and adjust their path to help them meet their needs.
So you do look at the information? if they-
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I was getting at.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Following up with Mary's question, what would it take for us to be at least at the 50% level?
Coming in?
You can start there if you want, or in the winter of 2025.
Right.
What would it take for us to get to the 50% level? I know we probably have to start higher,
Right.
but she's already addressed that. So part two is how do we get everybody over 50%?
I think every student comes at a different level, and every student learns at their own pace. So what we have to do and what we continue to do is personalize the learning to help them meet their goals, to help them grow, and we do see that we're closing the gaps in their progress. So we have to work towards the achievement, but, you know, we have to take those steps. One of the things we have been looking at is the number of new students that we have received. One building had about 80 new students this year, so we talk about that at MTSS, and we're figuring out, okay, they're new to us, how do we help them if they're 2 levels, you know, below grade level? So our staff and our principals, we have those discussions on how we can support our students. And I would just say to you that everyone learns at a different pace. We're exposing them to the same evidence-based curriculum, and we're just going to keep on keeping on to personalize their learning, regroup interventions, and, you know, do what we can do to help them meet their goals.
So is there a breakdown then of the students who are new to Princeton as opposed to those who were here the year prior?
We have, each building knows how many students they have, like who are new each year. So we did have those discussions. This is why I knew off the top of my head, we did have 80 new students at one of our buildings, and they broke it down by grade level. So then we're able to kind of look at those students and figure out how we can support them, what happened in their school previous, and just to continue to build on their learning and, you know, hopefully get them up to where they need to be.
Does it occur sometimes that those coming from other districts actually do quite better than our regular students?
Yes, there's a whole plethora of students who learn, so we can have some students who are here, some students who come in who need support, and some who are highly gifted who need extra enrichment. So, you know, we do have students who come at many different levels from many different backgrounds.
So we cannot assume just because they weren't grown through our system that their grades would be higher or lower.
No, you can't assume that. We just have the actionable data to say, what does the data say when we look at each student, to say, what can we do to support them, or what can we do to enrich their opportunities here at Princeton?
Now, how do you think we compare, it's probably too soon, but this 52% number for the 3rd grade reading, I mean, that's impressive.
It's high, yes.
How do you think we compare to others? It's probably too soon to know how we compare to other school districts.
It's too soon, but when we look at iReady, which is aligned to how students are projected to do well on the Ohio State test, typically what happens is we have a projected proficiency, and we typically outscore what the projection is at the end. So, you know, we're just excited to continue to work with our students, look at the data, and really hone down on what they really, really need.
Yeah, that's good.
Well,
Now,
that-
just,
Go ahead.
I forgot one last thing. How instrumental is the media person or library person, you know, the services provided in the library to be like icing on the cake to help the student? Or is that something you measure?
No, I think that's a great question. Our media specialist works at all the buildings, works with the staff, and they, you know, integrate. They have thematic units. They talk, you know, they kind of look at what's studied in the classroom. So, you know, there is an input on that also, and also they do have library time weekly to go in and select books and, you know, learn how to integrate and how to do study skills. So that is a big part of, you know, integrating what they need in the books that they take home and check out as well.
Thank you.
I have another question too.
Yes.
So where are we on the reading curriculum?
So we are in a very good place in terms of piloting, so we're really excited about that. So we started in August, and we went to the Hamilton County, you know, the fairs and things that they had, and we did a lot of research. So we are now piloting we have a core curriculum that we're piloting. We also have foundational skills. So we started in August. We've been working with instructional coaches and principals, and so they were able to select teachers from K through 5 to pilot certain curriculums that are evidence-based and approved by the state. So we are currently piloting Wit and Wisdom, which is a core curriculum. We are piloting Imagine Learning, which is a core curriculum. And then those are going to be partnered with foundational skills like K2. So we have magnetic reading, which is a foundational program with phonics for phonemic awareness. And we're also looking at 95%. So the nice thing is that we meet monthly. We've put together a Google Classroom for those teachers. There's collaboration time coming up on the 13th. They'll have some PD time together to look at that and, look at how things are working, what do they like, what's challenging. And we've also partnered with the companies, and we have communication documents where the teachers can put down what their questions are, what their challenges are, and we get immediate response. And then we have a district communication across all 8 buildings for grade levels. So we're seeing some great things, and we're hoping, to continue to do that, and we'll have hopefully a decision, coming up soon in the spring. So, we're excited about piloting and seeing what's out there for our students.
Okay, I have another question. Okay, so I'm reading this, and I'm
Okay.
trying to understand it.
Okay.
So we got fall, winter,
Mhm.
and obviously spring coming up.
In
So
May.
spring will be the final for this year, right?
Yes, in May.
And when is that going to happen about?
May,
May?
yes.
Looking at the progress between fall and winter, those percentages, can we expect those percentages for spring, do you think? Or where do we think they will end? Will they be around where the winter is, or should we see some increases very similar that we saw between fall and winter, or even more? Or
Well, the trends have been over the past few years that we definitely see significant increase in the spring. So over the last couple of years, we continuously see increases. So I definitely anticipate there will be more increase and helping our students to meet their goals as well.
The reason why I ask, because now I'm gonna look at this as a parent.
Mhm.
If I was looking at this as a parent, what I'm reading here and I've just used, the winter 2025, say 5th grade reading. We're saying almost 30% are at or above grade level. That means 70% are not. Is that right?
Yes, that is what it's saying for this, but this is a benchmark assessment. So when we look at their core reading and we look at that, those are 2 different things. So if we look at what they're doing in the classroom every day, those percentages, are higher. This is a state, what the state uses to say.
And I want you to explain that, because
Oh, okay.
again, that's what people are they're looking at these as raw numbers. And so when I look at it as a raw number, if I was just a parent
Right.
reading this, that's how I would read it, is that, well, that means 70% of your students are not at or above grade level. I wanted you to kind of explain this so
Okay.
that parents understand it.
Right, and so what happens is when they meet at conferences, each parent they have their own individual, plan. So we do have students who are achieving higher than this. So when you look at this number, this is all 8 buildings together where they are. And when you look at it individually, each student, parents get a report, they talk through that, where they are and what they can do to be better. So they do get those individual reports on where they are, what they can do better, what domains, if it's phonics, phonemic awareness. Those are the skills that are targeted in the intervention groups to help the students be better and to meet their goals. So everything is personalized. So this is broken down, and you as a parent will know where my child is doing well, where my child is struggling, and what we as a school and as a teacher are doing to help them, meet their goal with the interventions. So it is personalized for parents.
Okay, so there are going to be, what I'm hearing you say, there's going to be tools and resources given to the parent and the child, students, so that they can do better. So then when we look at that spring assessment, if they're doing what they need to do, and again, the school doing what it needs to do, the combination of the 2, those numbers should be considerably higher.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay?
But aren't we still saying 70% didn't pass?
I'm sorry?
Aren't we still saying that 70% did not pass?
I would say, when you say 70% did not pass, it's not a passing, it's like they may be on the cusp.
Okay, they're not at grade level. 70% are not at grade level.
You could say they're not at grade level, but they're broken up into different, so they could be tier 2, they could be a tier 3, so they could be making on that bubble to make their growth to be able to be on grade level as well.
Well, we understand
Yeah.
growth, but a snapshot says 70% didn't make it.
Yes.
Right. And I would say, that, as she's saying, this is a snapshot with iReady. So as you know, our 5th graders last year, 75% of them passed the Ohio State test. So iReady can be more rigorous.
this is when what they did in December, so they still have 4 more months until they get to May. So this is just our checkpoint to know how are they doing and what do we need to do to prepare them for the Ohio State test. They actually take iReady after the Ohio State test because we want them to give their very best on the state test. So as you're looking at that percentage right now, that's what we're doing too, and then that is to make sure that when we get to Ohio State test in May, if we are not at 75%, because last year, remember, that's where we were. So this is winter. This is not the full year. So a lot of kids, they didn't get there yet. By May, they may be on grade level, and they may pass the state test, and they have traditionally outperformed that, and to your point, Mrs. Cleveland, have grown at the same rate from December to April when they take it again, and that's why all of those interventions in place. So it's not always beautiful here, but we always want to be transparent and share the checkpoints. And so if we come to you in May and we can't have the celebration of that we're over the 70%, then I would share those same concerns. But I think consistently you've seen that this is where we are in the winter. But give us into April and May because we have some outstanding teachers, some hardworking students, and parents that are like, okay, it's time to lock in and make sure you get to where you need to be. And so that's what we're working on, and when we come back in May with those final results for the Ohio State tests, you will see that, and you will see the iReady benchmark, and they're usually pretty aligned. So I just wanted to help with that, because I think that's how we've talked about it in the past.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Evening.
Okay, so for secondary, we give the MAP assessment, and our data that we look at with staff is slightly different than what Ms. Hill just shared. So when we talk about the data with our teachers, we talk about the projected goals and our students meeting those growth goals or exceeding those growth goals. So I've got it broken down in 2 ways. So one is the 3-year trend. So if you look at 6th grade ELA, for example, we've gone from 45% of our students meeting or exceeding their growth goal. So we want them to grow because we know that growth works towards the achievement. Last year, 53% of our students met or exceeded their growth goal. And then this year, 60% of our students met or exceeded the growth goal. And then the color coding piece, that kind of looks at it from a cohort standpoint. So if you look at the yellow, as 6th graders, 45% of those 6th graders met or exceeded their growth goal. Last year, that same group of students, 51% met or exceeded their growth goal. And then this year, as 8th graders, 66% of our students met or exceeded their growth goal. So MAP gives you a projection of how many points they want you to grow so that it moves them along that continuum to be able to learn and achieve at higher levels. And then the color coding follows for all the other grade levels. What we have seen is significant jumps in some areas. For example, the orange and the yellow, we have flatlined a little bit from ELA 8 to ELA 9, so we know that that's a focus area, and that's a area where our instructional coaches and our supervising administrators are really going into those teacher-based team meetings and taking a deep look at those common assessments to make sure that we're challenging our students so that they continue to grow and make progress. And then similar with our math, we are also looking at it over time. So for Math 6 across the past 3 years, just to kind of give you an example, we've gone from 41 to 47 to 48% of our students are meeting or exceeding their growth goals. So they're continuing to grow, which is working towards that achievement piece. And then we also have it color-coded going down. We do have a little bit of a gap just because on the left-hand side, you'll see Algebra 1 for the middle school and then Algebra 1 for the high school. So we teach those classes at both grade levels, there's a little bit of a jump there when we go and make that growth. But what we have noticed, a lot of growth this year, we have seen in our geometry. That has been an area of focus for the past couple of years, and we are seeing a lot of gains and a lot of students making a lot more progress. That is a very, very challenging assessment, so we're very proud of our teachers for the work that they've done with that. And then for our Innovation Center, some of the data, they don't currently give the MAP assessment. We are looking to give the MAP assessment at our Innovation Center next year so that we have that data for comparative reasons and so that we can work and see what kind of growth they have as well. However, this is the data that we currently have, so I wanted you to take a look over the credit recovery, the credits that they have earned over the past couple of years. So by End of fall semester, we had 1,317 credits recouped with the students attending the Innovation Center. And as we know, students traditionally at the Innovation Center many come in credit deficient. So to be able to recoup those credits and be able to graduate on time with their same age peers is huge. We were able to graduate 57 students after the fall semester, which is a big leap from what we have done previously. Not only are those students graduating with their high school diploma, but they have worked diligently with either Ms. Key or Ms. Watkins on career opportunities to make sure that they're set up for a successful life after they receive their high school diploma. And many of our students are coming back to continue to work with Ms. Key on some post-secondary options. She's got job fairs that she's setting up. We've got the Future Ready Fair to make sure that the work doesn't stop once they earn those credits. The work doesn't stop once they walk across that stage. We want to continue to support our students. We're very proud of our alumni, and we want to make sure that not only they receive a high school diploma, but they have a very profitable career ahead of them. So we are very fortunate to be able to partner with both our Navigator team and LEAD through Warren County so that they can provide those opportunities for our students. And then as far as action steps that we have really taken a closer look at both the middle school, high school, and our Innovation Center on our teacher-based team 5-step process. TBTs, teacher-based teams, or TBTs for short, that's not a new thing for Princeton. However, what we have realized is that some of the conversations needed some stronger guidance and some stronger guidelines as far as what kind of data we are looking at, what kind of assessments we are creating, and what kind of instructional practices we are truly doing in the classroom. So we have had opportunities for our teachers first and second semester, along with on our professional development days, to get several hours, a block of time to be able to collaborate with their colleagues who teach that same subject. So for example, we've had pulled out days for 6th grade ELA, 7th grade ELA, and 8th grade ELA, Algebra 1 and Geometry, and 6th, 7th, and 8th grade Math, to be able to sit down for 3 to 4 hours at a time and say, what does our assessment look like? Does the assessment match the standards? Is it being assessed to the same rigor that they are going to see on that state assessment? And then let's follow up and have a conversation on how did the students do? Where did they do well? Are they doing well with one teacher and struggling with another teacher? And then they're having those conversations of, well, what did you do in your class that made your students outperform mine? And then, okay, I'll take that back to my class, and then I'll use those same instructional practices. So to be able to have that time with our teachers has been very impactful. I think that's why I know that that's why we're seeing a lot of the growth that we're seeing this year that maybe we have not seen in the years past. We have been fortunate to be able to work with the Hamilton County math coach. We changed our math coaches this year, and this coach has done an outstanding job to really help create those common assessments, revise our pacing guides to make sure that we're getting through the curriculum prior to the state assessment so that our students are prepared. We also have a Read Ohio literacy coach that is provided to us from the state. So that is not something that we currently had a contract with the county. And she has done an excellent job as well, working with the teachers. She co-teaches with them. She models lessons for them, teaches them new instructional practices. She's very knowledgeable in what's called the Writing Revolution, which is a book study that many of us did a couple of years back to help students build those writing skills within their classroom. She's been working with our ELA teachers at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in that area, and then all of our elective teachers, I don't want to say all, many of our elective teachers at both the middle school and the high school are using what's called Newsella Write. It's an artificial intelligence platform where students can write their answers. Teachers will enter a prompt, and they can attach the state rubric to it. Students can write their answers, and then the artificial intelligence will provide them feedback on what needs to occur to make their writing stronger. They can go back and make those revisions to strengthen their writing skills. I know the middle school is doing an incentive where students need to submit 15 Newsella Writes for third quarter, and that is their incentive for writing. And then I know that the high school has been working with that as well. So we're seeing a lot of traction with Newsella Write. We actually are having the co-founder come in to visit our schools because of the work that Princeton's been doing. They're coming in to observe our teachers and our students on Tuesday because of the growth and the gains that we've seen. And that the reason I bring that up is MAP is a great assessment for reading comprehension and vocabulary and language acquisition, but it is not great for writing. There's no writing component to MAP. So we want to make sure that we are also doing the things that we need to help prepare the students for the state assessment in the area of writing. Coupled with that, we are using the state readiness platform, which offers us state-released items. That's what helps us design our common assessment so that students receive that repeated exposure to the types of questions that they will receive, that they will see on the state test. And then last but not least, we do make sure that we have personalized plans for every student at the Innovation Center. We know that every student comes to the Innovation Center with unique needs, and we want to make sure that they know what that plan is and that every single day they are working towards achieving the goals that they have set for themselves. Questions?
I'll just say, that's great on the geometry, because I know that is a really hard test.
It is.
So kudos to everyone on that, and to the Innovation Center. I think seeing the growth that the Innovation Center is having, it just makes my heart feel like just so good. So congratulations to all of them.
Thank you.
Years ago, I think during the summers, I think the 8th graders and the 9th graders were given an opportunity to take courses like geometry and algebra. They're like readiness courses. Do we still do that? And do you think that might have had an impact?
There are not readiness courses for algebra or geometry in the summertime. We do have 8th grade students do have the opportunity to take health and PE in the summertime. That will open up their schedule a little bit by the time they come into their freshman year. And then we also have the 5th to 6th grade summer camp that we have for our students, but there's not anything specific to algebra or geometry unless it's credit recovery.
I think I said it wrong. Maybe it's an ACT prep course. Do you offer that?
So there's not
Or
an
math.
ACT prep course. We do have Method Learning, which is an online personalized learning platform. It allows the students, and we actually give our practice ACT every fall through Method Learning. It gives 2 full-length practice tests, but students can take it as many times as they want to. And then each subgroup, each component, there are video tutorials and practice questions where they can go online at any point, any day, and be able to practice those questions to help prepare for the ACT.
That's good. I'm also impressed by the numbers at the Innovation School. I am so glad that there's improvement there. You're saying they didn't get the math assessment test this time around, but they'll get it next time.
That's what we're looking to do. They gave the readiness assessments as their common assessments to kind of track that data. We found some complications with it, especially from the language piece of it. The readiness assessments used to be able to provide that in Spanish for our students. That changed this year for those practice assessments. They'll still get it on the state assessment, but not the practice one. We didn't know that until we got into the system, so now we're having to rethink the type of assessments that we want to give them so that it's accessible for all of our students, because as you know, about 60% of our Innovation Center is EL. So we want to make sure that we're providing an assessment that's accessible to the students. So we're looking at a couple of different options right now, MAP being one of them.
That's great. And it's wonderful that you're going to have job fairs, but do we also offer for the Innovation School or for the high school opportunities for students to write college essays?
Yes, that occurs in their high school English class.
Now, so you're saying every student at Princeton in their high school English class, they'll have an opportunity to write essays and actually apply for college?
The actual application for college does not occur. The writing of the college essay, that piece can occur
Just the
in,
right-
yes, but the actual application, our counselors build in they did it first semester and they're doing it again second semester. They build in days where students can sign up through school links to actually apply for college. So they have college application help sessions, and they also have scholarship application help sessions that they offer several times throughout the month.
So there's no curriculum where in that class you will apply for like 3 colleges or something?
Not within the class. They just need it, but they can sign up for any one of those sessions, and they get pulled out of that class to be able to apply for college.
Okay.
And there also, with our new partnership with Cincinnati, with CYC, we're offering those FAFSA sessions that you guys approved at our last meeting. So those started on the
That's
4th,
good.
and those are every Tuesday. They've got another one tomorrow to make sure that we increase the number of students that complete their FAFSA application.
That's good news, thank you. And the coaching opportunity sounds impressive. Now,
Yes.
those are coaching opportunities for teachers, to coach other teachers, or?
You're talking about the Hamilton County?
Yeah.
So we have contracted with Hamilton County to have a math coach. I believe it was 10 days for the year. So we have set times aside for the math coach to work with our geometry teachers and work with our algebra teachers.
Oh, good.
And our middle school math teachers. So she works with each grade level. She's also worked with our EL teachers and our special ed teachers to look at the curriculum and make sure that we're truly teaching the standards to the level that we need to teach the standards so that the students can be successful on the state assessment. And then similar, we have a Read Ohio literacy coach, but that was provided to us by the state, so we didn't have to contract for that.
Yeah.
We received that literacy coach, and she has also been working with our ELA teachers, doing very similar things, but she pushes, because she's with us every single day, she also pushes into classrooms and she models lessons so that the teacher can see what that instructional practice looks like, and then the teacher can then replicate that in the classroom. Or she will co-teach with them. They'll teach alongside each other so that they can practice new instructional strategies.
That's wonderful, thank you.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the secondary growth for the Innovation Center, we have in here students graduated out of how many?
Oh, that's a
Do we
good
know?
question. I think we have slightly over 100 Innovation Center students that are seniors this year.
Slightly over 100?
100, yes.
Oh, that's good.
And so 57 of them have already met graduation. And some of the students are graduating, some of our EL students have been because they're a little bit older, they're even graduating in less than 4 years because of the age, and they want to make sure that they're available to work to support their family.
Break that down for us, just so that we can see it.
Break it down is how?
Like.
By
showing how
demographic?
many- Yeah, and how many actually are achieving graduation early, like you just stated, out of how, oh, I thought somebody said something, out of how many, so that we know the number of, because it's a good number, I just want to know.
Compared to what?
Compared to
Sure,
what?
absolutely, we can get that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
That's it for me.
If I'm repeating this, just say I missed out. The English 10, is there a reason why it dropped 12%?
English 10. Oh, I'm on math. Let me flip back to English 10. So, because you're looking from the 63 to 51.
Yes.
So, different group of students.
Yes.
So if you look at the blue, 56% of our students met growth last year as ninth graders and 51%. So we did drop, and that is not been an area of focus previously. But now that we saw that fall to winter and we've kind of seen that, we're now pushing into those TBTs to see what's going on there as well. As far as projected proficiency, we're about at the same. We're projected to be about 60% proficient in ELA 10, which is what we were last year at this time. But the fact that not as many students are meeting or exceeding our growth, that is something that we need to take a deeper look at. And that was something that Mr. Ballmer and Ms. Schmidt mentioned last week when they were doing their academic achievement presentation. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, because you're right, that is something that we need to take a closer look at.
Thank you both, appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All three.
Oh, yeah, thank all three.
5-year forecast.
As I said last meeting, since we've had a couple changes since November, I want to get a new forecast in front of you next meeting and ask for you to approve that so we can send that back up to the state. So what has changed since November? We have a new issue on the ballot, so I want to get that in the forecast so they can see that. We had the change in the tangible personal property, or the PUP tax. That's a $800,000 drop in revenue, 1.6 over fiscal year. So I want to get that up in there, so we're looking at those numbers. The little bit of state aid that you see down, I'm looking at this chart. The little bit of state aid drop is DPIA, and we get that aid based on poverty level and around the state, because a lot of districts chose to go full, free, and reduced food services this year, they are now showing as 100% poverty. Those districts that did that, we did not select to do that this year, so as compared to the whole, we're not as poor as the whole. So I think the state's gonna adjust that calculation next year in the next biennial because it did not react the way they anticipated. So that's just a little bit of money, 200,000 over the year. But when you drop down to the expense chart, now I've started to add in the board-approved cuts. So that's where you'll see how those are broken out over the fiscal year. Remember, we had about 450,000 in the current year that we were hoping to cut. You can see that number on the top blue line for fiscal year 25, and then we're at about 5.5 million for fiscal year 26. So, you know, give or take a little bit. Now the numbers, you know, I'm plugging numbers into a forecast that has some calculations. It also builds into it. So I think our goal for the resolution was about 5.7 million. We're showing about 5.5 million. So we have to do a little work yet. Also, you know, I've made some assumptions. We didn't have some of the cuts fleshed out. We knew we were not replacing teachers and staff that were retiring. So those I have good solid numbers on, you know. I know Mrs. Smith made this and I know she had these benefits, so I know exactly what she costs. So others, I've just kind of said, you know, there are about 3 more positions we need to cut in this area. I'm assuming how much benefits, but we have a round number to hit. All those numbers are in the forecast so we can see what the bottom line is going to look like. That doesn't mean if we decide to take a staff from one classification and keep that and maybe remove another staff from another classification. I mean, we're going to come up with a number however we get there. So just to get to the bottom line of where we stand and what it looks like. So then you can pop over to this chart, which is what we've been using, and you can see that we have bettered our position a little bit by making some of these changes. Of course, the little bits of decrease in revenue hurt us a little bit, so we didn't get quite where we wanted to go. But you can see that if we pass a levy, if we make these cuts, we have cash balance through 2031. But what you have to remember, what is it in the forecast after next year? Base increase. So always remember that. That's going to increase our expense each of those years, thus reducing our cash balance. So we just have to remember that. If we give a base increase, it increases our expenses, reduces our cash balance. So that's where we stand. Again, a lot more time in the greens, light greens staying out of the yellows and oranges and the reds. And that chart we were showing, if you go back to your notes and compare, you'll see this is a better look. If you flip the page over, I'm actually showing it to you. So the dotted line is where we were in November forecast, and you can see cash balance has increased by the solid line. Okay, so making, you know, the 5.5 million in cuts did improve our position, but we're not quite there. So, again, remember, we lost 10.6 million on November 6th for all calendar year 2025. We're asking for 12.8 at the next election. That does not come to us until calendar year 27, which is in the middle of fiscal year 27. So we have a little more work to do. So just to give you a picture, on the next page, calendar year 27,
The levy in May.
May, you don't see any revenue until January 27th. No. Anytime you pass in a year, you wait till the next year to collect, January. So May and November passes, you get the money in January.
So that'll be 26, not 27.
I'm
26.
yes.
Yeah.
I said 26, and I
Yes,
was waiting
I'm
for her
sorry.
to catch that. but-
I'm sorry, I'm
I'll
skipping
take it
ahead
too.
here.
That's okay. I already knew.
I'm
I
sorry.
was thinking the same thing, but I didn't want
There's
to
no
say
way
anything.
27, but, okay.
This chart, just to show you impact of adding a base increase. I think it's a good visual, since it's hard if I'm just showing you numbers. So the current negotiated agreement has one more year in it, okay? So through fiscal year 26. Okay? So if we increased our base by 2%, I'm giving you a visual so you can see how that impacts the bottom line. I think it's significant, okay? So we just have to remember, we still have work to do to push our cash balance out.
This is
Okay.
with the levy pass.
Levy passing,
Okay.
yes. So quickly, as we tell, remember, our largest expense is people. So it's impacting the largest part of our budget. Okay? This is where we're gonna have the state, I'm gonna ask you to approve this, I'm gonna send it to the state. I think we keep working, so if in March, we come up with a few more cuts we can make, things we can do, we can decide, do we wanna do another forecast in March? Probably. I think we wanna be able to message to our voters where we stand, and we're continually trying to work for them, okay? I think we'll just keep
We don't have a choice,
messaging
yeah.
to our taxpayers that we're working hard
And
to
we are.
try to push the next ask out. Because when you're looking at charts like this is, November's the dotted line, where we were in November. We've made the cuts, but still, we're asking again here. We're below our cash policy. The red is where the state starts to come talk to you about what are you doing. If the district doesn't pass in May, I would expect we get our first contact from the state to make sure we're working on this. Okay? And we are. So.
Can you give us an overview one more time? How many mills, and is it a 10-year? Could you give me that one more time?
So the ballot the issue you passed.
Yeah.
12.8 million, emergency levy, 10 years.
And that will cost the average homeowner $231 for every $100,000 value of their home.
Yes.
Good job, Jana.
Well, I didn't remember it one way or the other, I'm sure.
And it equates to roughly 6.61 mils.
6.61 mils.
Here's the question, probably needs to be shared with everyone. When we talk about what it's going to cost and the value of the home, what's the cost if Princeton slides to a 3 on the value of the home? And I think if people look at the value of their homes 5 years ago, it wasn't where it is now. I think we're up a little bit over $231 as you figured out the cost of the $100,000 home. First of all, that $100,000 home is probably $205 right now. So I'm hoping that the district, its academic performance and quite honestly, its fiscal performance is understood by the voters.
I hope so. But if you're retired and you have no children in the district, and you have no other income except for your retirement income, you could balk at it. So therefore, we need some strong arguments as to why they should care more about the quality of the school and the education we provide, which will result in an increase in the property value of the home they are living in now. I think if we focus on that, we can kill two birds with one stone, but if we can't, I'm worried.
I think that's been the balance of the conversation all along, is that we have to appeal to both.
Right.
I mean, it is about the academics, but it is also about the home values in our district. So hopefully people see the value in both of those.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The dichotomy is that both are equally important, but I think, some people first think about their pocketbook first.
Right.
And it'll be shrinking.
When they go to sell their house.
That's right.
If the quality of the school district goes
And
down.
if I'm retired,
Right.
that's probably one of my biggest assets, is
Exactly.
the equity in my home. I don't want to lose that.
No.
So,
Thank you.
again, I just think it's really important that we have a true forecast at the state. We will send people to the state to see the forecast, see the numbers, and we just want to make sure they're as current and up-to-date as possible, so.
Thank you,
Thank
Chris.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your treasurer's report, which is item number 6A.
Yeah, I already.
Is that
made
the
a
spiral
motion.
notebook? Is that the
Oh,
Yeah.
that's in my treasure. Am I up on the
You're up.
treasurer's?
You're up again.
Okay, yeah, 3 items for the treasurer's report. This is I give you one of these every year. I know you
Yes.
guys are dying to go home and read it tonight.
Oh, I saw my name in it twice. I'm
Remember-
excited about it.
No, I
Thank
really
you.
can't.
I put it in my
Remember-
library.
The very beginning
We're on
has
page 12
just,
and page 6.
the very beginning has a lot of great, not just Princeton City School District
Right.
data, but
Good
also
facts.
community data that is just fantastic to
36
have.
square miles.
Then if you go to the very end, there's some great data. And all the data in between is what we're required to do for GAAP reporting. So this has been audited, and this is the official document. And this is used, when we refund our bonds, when we fund any of our debt, this is a key document that we use. And it's probably one of the main reasons we do continue doing that. Everyone needs to look at their calendar and let me know if you would like to be registered for the Southwest OSBA Spring Conference on Thursday, March 6th. Where are we going this year? Green County.
Same as last year,
East
wasn't it?
side.
Green, it was the same place
West
last year.
side.
So,
Does a plane fly there?
You're gonna want one too, once you
So just-
make that drive. Let me
Just-
just say.
For myself.
Not too bad.
just let me know. I'll have plenty of opportunity to remind you again about that. And then our state audit still has not been approved and released by the state. I'm
Oh,
sure
no.
we're on the list. Again, we use an independent auditor, but the state still comes in and does a review on their work, and then we'll release it. So we're still waiting on that. That's all I have.
Thank you for this booklet, it's very helpful. That's good facts.
Thank you.
6B, superintendent's report.
Yes, sir, thank you. Just a reminder of our listening sessions, we've had quite a few. We have tomorrow night at Evendale, 6 PM, and then Thursday, we'll have one here at the Innovation Center, we'll be here at PAC. That's from 3 to 4, so that's a different time. That one's from 3 to 4. And then at Prince Community Middle School on Thursday from 6 to 7. Then our last one at the individual schools is Heritage Hill on the 19th. So we had a great turnout. We've had some good turnouts. Last week, I think it was Thursday at Glendale. Really good conversation, so I wanted to put that out there. Also wanted to say we have some athletic senior nights. We've had quite a few here lately. We have Wednesday is the wrestling at Matthews Auditorium. Boys, it's approximately 6:45 senior night will start. So if you want to go there and honor the seniors and show them respect for all their work. And then this Thursday, girls and boys bowling at Gilmore Lanes over out Fort Fairfield, about 4 PM. Senior ceremony will start. I do want to shout out our Princeton Vikes co-ed cheerleading competition team. They just, they're probably home now. They're flying back today from Orlando. So they were down there competing in the Nationals, first time ever for Princeton to make the Nationals. So very proud of them for doing that. And then, as you see me, I have my blue and yellow on today, shirt and my pen. As I think I mentioned before, my journey in Princeton as a teacher started at Lincoln Heights as a 5th and 6th grade social studies teacher. So the principal gave me this pen in 2003, and they were like, "You still have that?" I said, "Yeah, oh yeah, I don't forget my roots a little bit here in Princeton." So we wanted to wear that today. You know, there's an ugly episode over the weekend, last Friday. Still things going on. So this morning, probably about 100 folks were at Lincoln Heights Elementary to welcome the students in. It was really a great event, you know, to see the smiles on the kids' faces and the things of that nature. Really it always makes your day, but it was a little special today because of what some of those kids had to hear or see. I really want to give a huge thank you to Mrs. Bailey and her staff. They've handled it well. Myself and Mrs. Bailey and Mr. McDaniel and Mr. Fricky and Mrs. Westwright and probably some others were texting all weekend, just seeing what's going on, making sure everybody's safe. What do you need? Here we are. So really, they've really stepped up and done that. That can be hard for staff, but we had a staff meeting at 8 this morning and talked through some things, and they really, we told them, take care of yourself so you can take care of these kids, because that's what we're there for. We want to make sure they're safe and they're learning, and it was a good day. To mention Mr. McDaniel for doing his stuff, and Ms. Bailey had mentioned the bus drivers. We were able to divert some buses because we heard about it right at the time, around dismissal time, so they didn't have to ride by the ugliness. Our elementary buses, so that was a good thing, and our bus drivers were very supportive and did what we asked them to do, so I want to shout them out. And then our community members were coming out this morning, like I said, and other times, just to support the kids and support the village. That was really sometimes bad things have to happen for people to come together, unfortunately, and I think that people are trying to come together and do what's best for our kids and our staff and our village. So that was just a great thing. We were also at a town hall about 3 o'clock, and I rushed out of there to get to the board meeting. So we were there. I didn't know I was going to have to speak, but I said a few things, and I wanted Ms. Bailey to say more because she's there every day with those kids, and that's who is there, and they know, and the community knows. With some other folks, there was some state senators. There were some.
I was there.
Yep, Ms. Gina was there. There was some our county commissioners were there, so many pastors, things of that nature. Good conversation, heated at times, but it was a good conversation. And the conversation is not over. I'm going to try to stop over there tomorrow morning again just to be there, just to support. But the bottom line is, for me and for all of us, I don't speak for everybody, but I feel like I probably can on this one, that ugliness does not belong anywhere in the world, definitely not in our district. And we're not going to deal with it, and we're going to be there to support our kids 100%. So really good meeting, good conversations. They will continue to have those conversations because, as I said when I spoke today at the meeting, you know, I'm 55, I'm an old guy, I'm 55 years old, and I never thought that my daughters or our kids would have to deal with the same mess I had to deal with 45 years ago. But we do. And people are there to support. So we're going to love on our babies, we're going to love on our staff, and make sure that our kids are getting what they need. So that's all I have, but I wanted to say that because I think it's really important for people to understand, not only the village, but all our communities, that we're here and we have their back.
I just want to thank you and your staff and your cabinet for showing up at Lincoln Heights this morning. They said there was over 300 people there clapping and shaking hands with the students and making them feel welcome. And I also appreciate that the fact that Nazis showed up on a bridge between Lincoln Heights and Evendale with swastikas and shouting the N-word. I think it's wonderful that our district issued a statement against that. It's also wonderful that all of the various communities did so as well as the Jewish community. So I think that while it is an ugly thing, I hope it is a lesson for all of us that not everybody thinks the same way, but we all need to work toward making sure that we're fair and loving to each other. And I also hope and pray that we continue to provide safe passage for our students to and from school in Lincoln Heights. And on another topic, congratulations, I was able to go to one of the senior nights. I think it was the basketball senior night. And it was just nice seeing what progress those students have made and hearing about their plans for college.
Thank you.
I'd like to say, to those who showed up this morning, it was very impressive. Let me first say that. But I want to say thank you to the community who stopped their day to show up for our kids today. I mean, that you couldn't buy that. I
Right.
mean, you couldn't buy the look on the kids' faces, the look on the parents' faces as they were dropping kids off. You couldn't buy that. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who stopped to show up, because it was people from around this area. It wasn't just Lincoln Heights.
Right.
It was a whole community of people who showed up to say, look, we see you. We acknowledge that you're here and you mean something to us. The signs that they brought, I mean, there were signs, handmade signs for the kids. Again, it was awesome just to see what a community can do when it comes to taking care of the youngest, our youngest individuals.
And I would say, I was able to take a few pictures and we had some, so if you look on our Princeton, I believe it's a Facebook page, you'll see some of those signs in the crowd. And it was very, sometimes you forget that there's so much good in the world because we
Right.
hear about the ugly,
Right.
that there's a lot more good than ugly. And I want to try to dwell on that
Exactly.
as much as possible.
Yeah.
But thank you for everybody who
Thank
showed
you.
up, because
Thank you
again,
very much.
it meant a lot to the kids that you showed up for them
Yeah.
and the staff.
As everyone knows, Princeton is made up of several different communities, and our greatest strength since our inception has been the support of the students and support of the different communities by other communities. And right now, Lincoln Heights is having a tough time a little bit, but I think all the communities are showing support in their own way. And that's what we need to continue to do.
Absolutely.
And to say that at the meeting tonight, I saw at least 3 other mayors from other communities were at the meeting
Yeah.
for a little bit tonight,
Yes.
which proves what you're saying.
Yes, Springdale, for example.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Well, with that, I would ask for a motion to go to executive session to discuss under sections 121.22G1 to consider the employment and compensation of a public employee of the Ohio Revised Code.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved in second. Ms. Better?
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Mrs. Kessler? Mrs. Whiter?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleveland?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
We are adjourned, and there is no further action expected when we return. Thank you.